Hi, this is Meredith Blackwell. I'm at International Mycological Congress 12, and we're in Maastricht, Netherlands. And it's the 13th of August, 2024. And I am here to interview Arau, and he can introduce himself and say where he is now,
Right.
and start by telling us where he was born, how he came to be a mycologist, something about his education, and then we'd really like to hear about all his research.
Okay. Yes. So my name is João Araújo. I'm from Brazil, but I'm currently working as a fungi curator at the Natural History Museum of Denmark and assistant professor at the University of Copenhagen. And I work with insect-associated fungi, mostly the cordyceps sensulatu, but I'm also getting more and more interested on the mycoparasites that infect those and other fungi as well. I started back in the day in college in Brazil, 2005 more or less. Then I did my college degree. I did masters in the Amazon. So I'm from the southeast of Brazil, near Rio de Janeiro, the Atlantic rainforest, beautiful place. Then to my masters, I went up to Manaus to do also when I started to work on cordyceps actually, because in college I was working on agaric's taxonomy of mushrooms. Then during my masters I switched to cordyceps after I saw the BBC video, the famous one that has the paraponer, the bullet ant with the fungus, and that blew my mind. And wow, that's no better fungi to work with. That's amazing. And then I got hooked. And here I am 14 years later, still working on these fungi. And then the masters I did in Manaus and PhD in the United States, in Penn State, with David Hughes and Harry Evans. They were my two advisors. And after that I did a postdoc in the Penn State as well, but based in Brazil, because I was doing field work in the Amazon. And then I went to Japan for 1 year as a visiting researcher in Okinawa. And then I got a postdoc in University of Florida to work on the ambrosia beetles system, Ophiostomata fungi. But I worked just for 1 year on those.
Who are you working with there?
With Giri Ulcer. Yeah. And then I got a job at New York Botanical Garden, so I worked as a mycology curator there for 2 years.
Many people would have been happy just to stay there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but you didn't.
Yeah, well, I was happy in many ways. So it's a really prestigious position. I was really happy when I got it. The structure there is nice. The colleagues are nice, but it's really tough to be a foreigner in the United States. And after 8 years being there, I got tired of being foreign in the United States, which is hard. And I was working at Kew, and then a colleague said, "Oh, you're here in Kew in London. Come to Copenhagen to give a talk in our department." Then I went there, spent a few days, and I fell in love for Copenhagen. That's really beautiful. And when I came back to New York, I saw 1 month later a position advertised for University of Copenhagen, and then I decided to apply, and I got a position, and then I moved 6-7 months ago. So I really recently moved here, and I'm pretty happy. But the major reasons were more personal than professional, and my family is also more happy in Copenhagen than we were in New York.
Yeah, I thought I was going to get to meet you, and then I hear you're gone.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I'm finally glad that I'm meeting you here in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to go back to something you said: microfungi, microparasites, ectoparasites. Which ones are these?
Well, those are mostly in the Cordycepaceae family.
Okay.
And I have described from one species of the zombie ants that I have been working more.
Yeah.
So from one species of zombie ant fungi in Florida, I described back 2018, we found 2 new genera of mycoparasites only on these species.
Wow.
And then we published that, and since then I became more interested. I was a co-author with Jennifer in another paper on mycoparasites of entomopathogens. And more recently I got interested on the mycoparasites of coffee leaf rust fungus, for example.
What genera?
A new genera, or Lecanicidium-like fungi, some basal lineages in Cordycepaceae, and we are working on a paper now with, if I remember well, this paper has been going on for many years, but 5 new genera just infecting leaf rust fungi.
What, Jennifer? You said Jennifer?
No, Jennifer, I co-authored a paper with her on...
Which Jennifer?
Jennifer Luangzard.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, in
yeah.
Thailand.
Yeah,
So
in Thailand.
you're- Oh, yeah.
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 Yeah, and then I just helped them. I had some sequences and we collaborate on that. They did all the work, so I basically collaborated with that.
I've
And she
worked with
proposed another
Jennifer,
gene.
and it's very nice. It's
Yeah,
very
yeah.
easy.
And I told her in this conference that's been really hard to keep up because they publish so many species all the time, so many good things coming from her lab. So it's really amazing
Yeah.
time to be a mycologist, I guess.
Yeah. Well, yours is a group I've been interested in, and I'm also interested in some of these that are not harmful to the insects that live in off the gut of some of the insects, because it seems like it's a really weird thing to figure out evolutionarily. You have any ideas about that?
Yeah, that's one field I really want to explore. If we talk about the same thing, the yeast-like symbionts,
Yeah.
that's will be my major path now. That all the grants I'm writing now are more in this direction. I have an ongoing paper I hope to submit to Studies in Mycology, hopefully soon, and proposing a new species will be likely the first paper dealing on giving names to these yeast-like fungi.
Yeah,
Then we
yeah.
found that these fungi, the switch from parasitic to endosymbiont occurred multiple times independently.
Yeah, and there are bacteria involved.
Yes,
and
they kick it out
moths and-
bacteria. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
The fungi replace the bacteria. So the bacteria obligate bacterial symbionts. They provide theoretically they provide amino acids for these insects that sap-sucking insects. And in some cases, by accident, some colleagues in Japan, and they found that some of these bacteria were missing. And they found that those that were missing one of the bacterial partner, there was
They had
some
the fungus.
yeast-like there.
Yeah.
And then in the 90s, they found out that there were hypochondrial fungi, but that was the information we had, and now we know that they evolved multiple times. That's some published data. They evolved multiple times, and each of these origins is driven by one host group. So I found this really interesting, and many of these hosts are crop pests. So that's really fascinating if we can understand.
The rice, the green what?
Yeah, the hoppers, the plant
the green
hoppers, leaf
plant
hoppers,
hopper.
sap-sucking cicadas.
Yeah,
all
and
sap-sucking.
roaches too, aren't they all kind of related even distantly?
Which one?
Roaches?
Oh, roaches.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. There are symbionts in many groups. There,
Yeah, but I
Hematophagus
thought they
one.
might, there was some evidence some of them were all related,
yeah.
but a whole group of them. It's,
I published one species, but it was a parasitic lineage of roach, social cockroach in Japan.
Yeah.
Quite interesting.
Yeah, and some of the people that have been working on the bacteria are getting more interested in the fungi too.
Yeah, and many of these papers I've read, or this colleague in Japan, Yu Matsura, that I have been working, he found by accident. He's a bacteriologist and was working on bacteria. Why this bacteria is not here? So what's wrong with my PCR? And then he decided to do the old school way. That he cracked the insect and opened it, was filled with yeast-like floating around. And then he said, wow, that's something really interesting. And he published that, and I spent some time in his lab learning how to do some confocal microscopy.
Oh, so you actually went to Japan?
Yeah, I spent 1 year there. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's really interesting to me that a fungus could replace a bacterium, you know?
Yeah, it's a fascinating story,
Yeah.
I guess. And we know nothing about that. So once we start to dig deeper, I think many more interesting stories will come up.
So you're now then pursuing this, you say?
Yes.
And do you have good lab facilities then?
They have
Good lab facilities?
Yeah, now it's very exciting times to be in Copenhagen, because they are rebuilding the Natural History Museum where I'm based. So there's a whole new museum will be re-inaugurated next year. So it's really beautiful, like a glass dome with fancy exhibits, and the labs are still under construction. But the university is really well equipped, University of Copenhagen.
But good culture facilities then.
Yeah, I'm collaborating with a colleague, Henrik de Feinlicht. He's there as well, and his department has a really good structure to do that. So I'm collaborating with many colleagues until the new museum is ready, and I get money to build the facilities and the structure to keep the fungi cultures, which is crucial nowadays for genomics and these things.
Now that sounds like a great environment for you,
Yeah.
with more mycologists
Yeah.
than you had before.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Very good.